High on a plateau in eastern Utah is a giant crack in the ground that is tens of millions of years in the making. It's a scar in a landscape that cuts through the hills deep enough that sunlight never reaches the bottom and long enough that you can't see it all from the ground. The story behind it involves Utah's unique geology, a ghost town called Dragon, and a man named Gilson, and I went out there to see it all for myself.
But I'm going to do something a little bit different in this video. Before I drive out there and check it from the ground, I want to get a sense of scale. And with this thing being miles long, I think the best way to do that is from the air.
Visual traffic, Skyline 52 Tango Mike is taking off runway 19 and will be departing to the north, Richfield.
My flight started in central Utah, and I'd be flying a distance of around 200 nautical miles over the ghost town of Dragon and on to Vernal, close to the Colorado border.
For this flight, I took off from Richfield, which is a fairly long flight to that giant crack in the ground, but it's a beautiful flight. You can see right now we're crossing over the Fish Lake Mountains. I've actually wanted to cross over the mountains themselves. I need to be a little bit higher, but I'm passing over I-70 right now, so there's a pass here well below me. And it looks like there's a lot of smoke in the air, so I know they've been doing prescribed burns in this area over the last few days. And actually yesterday, we flew out over Factory Butte, which I can just see off in the distance over that way, and it was really smoky over there. But today, it looks like they've just started. The smoke is not too much, so I'm okay flying over this way. I think on the way home, I probably won't be able to come through this bus, so I might have to climb and go over the mountains. Oh, this is really cool. Love these views, love these cliffs on the edge of the mountains here.
To drive to the crack in the ground, I'd had to go a little bit more out of the way.
To get to this ghost town and mine, I have actually crossed just over into Colorado, so I'm just east of the Utah border. And I've got some rough roads ahead of me that go up into the hills as we climb up onto the plateau that I'm heading up to. I have air down, so I'm ready to go.
The detour was down to Utah's rugged landscape. Many of the cliffs and canyons are simply impassable by car, so I had to go around, weaving my way over and around hills, mountains, and valleys. I didn't have that problem from the air.
Off to my right, we got the swell, and just like this canyons for miles and miles in this north part of the swell. It's really cool from up here. Actually, I can see a place where I camped. There's a place down there called the Wedge, which is kind of like an overlook that looks over some of the canyons down there. And I've camped at that spot before. I actually see some people are camped down there right now. Really cool view from down there, but I don't think you can beat the view from up here, because it's just, like I said, it's just canyons for miles. This mine, this crack in the ground that we're heading to, is basically straight ahead of me right now, up on top of the plateau that you can see there. And I could just keep going straight, or I could fly along the edge of the plateau, which I think would be pretty cool. But instead, I've got the Green River Canyon coming up. I can see the Green River off to my right, and the canyon is off to my left. This is one of those that you can't drive along. There's no roads up here, but apparently it's very popular for rafting. It's supposed to be a really pretty rafting trip as you come down here. So rather than heading straight, I'm going to head north along this canyon to check it out and see what it looks like. Yeah, I can see the river down there. I wonder if I see any rafters. Hard to tell from up here. I'm very high up above the ground there. That river's down at about 5,000 feet, and I'm up at 12,500. So a very long way down. That's weird. It says there's someone 8,000 feet below me on ADSB. Are they just flying straight down the river? It says they're 8,000 feet below me. They must be really low down there. There they are. There is a helicopter 8,000 feet below me, just flying along the river there, along the Green River. That's got to be a really cool flight down there. Yeah, they're just weaving their way along down there.
On the ground, I had made my way up onto the east side of the same plateau.
This part of the country has so many roads everywhere, and it's I think it's because of all of these oil wells and natural gas wells that are out here. I saw them flying over the Utah side, where they're just you can see little clearings and pumps everywhere, and it's the same over here on the Colorado side, so I'm able to follow these roads.
It's this oil that ultimately led to the giant crack in the ground. Utah's Uinta Basin is the only place in the world where a shiny black material known as gilsonite is found. It's a solid hydrocarbon that was formed from the solidification of oil between 36 and 57 million years ago, and it turns out it's pretty useful.
Okay, so I have started my descent down towards this giant crack in the ground. Highest terrain around here is 7,000 feet, so I've gone down to 9,000 for now, and then we'll see what we can see what it looks like. Maybe I can fly around a little bit. I go slightly to the south of it just so I can see it out my window. Get a little bump here closer to the ground. Turn towards where I think it is. Don't see it yet. So it's kind of straight ahead and off to the left a little bit. I think it's along this road here, and that, like along the intersection of this road and that road.
Those intersecting roads were just over the state border into Utah and were the site of the former town of Dragon, which exists because of the gilsonite. These people were responsible for digging the crack in the ground.
I've just reached the ghost town of Dragon, Utah, and calling it a ghost town might be a bit of a stretch because it's kind of hard to believe that there was ever a town here. As I walk in here, all I can see all around me is, it's mostly just scrub. You got all these bushes around here. There is a little bit of evidence that there were some buildings here. You got whatever that is up on the hillside there, just that small little shack that's kind of built into the hillside. And just occasionally, you see little piles of what once was a building here. And I'm assuming this was a fairly substantial building. I can see foundations, the edge of foundations over there, and you got these, what may be floorboards coming across here, some kind of support structure, and then the far side of the foundations where my shadow ends there. So this was a fairly big building, but just walking through the town site remains like that, a few and far between. It's mostly just dirt and bushes. Occasionally I see a little chunk of wood, little scrap of metal, something that has been left behind. But for the most part, it looks like there was nothing ever here.
The town of Dragon was founded in 1888 to support the mining in the nearby Black Dragon gilsonite mine, and at its peak, around 500 people lived there. The spot that I was parked at was the site of the Uinta Railroad Depot, which not only transported the gilsonite out from the mines, but also brought life to the town.
Just like all of these mining towns, Dragon had a boom, and when the Uinta Railroad was built here in the early 1900s, it became a hub for the local communities, ranches, and mines. And they even built a library out here. They had saloons, they had hotels, all the businesses you would expect from a prosperous town. But eventually, the Uinta Railroad closed, stopped servicing this area, and it very quickly declined. Just around the corner is the mine the Dragon is named after, and one of the reasons it became so prosperous. So let's go check that out.
I think it'd be obvious, considering how long this crack in the ground is. and I don't see it. I'm surprised. I thought it would be really obvious. Oh, there it is. It is really obvious. Look at that. It is obvious, but not until you're lined up with it. Oh, look how long that it goes on for. You have to be lined up with it to see it. And well, I guess you can see it from this side because you got the shade of it from the sun. But yeah, I could not see it from the other side. So I'm going to fly along the length of it, and then we'll circle around. But it looks like we got, yeah, there's a road that goes right up to the base of it. So that's where I can head up to.
What I was looking at is a hand-dug gilsonite mine, and the road to the base of it is the start of a miles-long crack in the ground. Gilsonite's first documented use was in 1868 in a blacksmith's forge when it was mistaken for coal. The unnamed mineral, later known as gilsonite, was thought to be useless. Instead of burning nicely in the forge, it melted, then caught fire as it spread across the blacksmith's shop, nearly burning it down. It wasn't until Sam Gilson came along that it was commercially mined. Gilson figured there had to be a use for it, so staked a claim on a mineral, named it gilsonite, then figured out what it was good for. Based on the extensive diggings, it's clear that he was successful.
And then several more roads that look like they go up part way along. Yeah, it just cuts straight through all of these hills. Just keeps on and on going. Yeah, so there's roads up along the top there too.
I decided to head in along one of the roads that intersect the middle of the mine. On the way, I passed through scattered waste. Someone had obviously based themselves out of here while working the mine.
Well, the road dead ends at the mine. The mine itself is fenced off here, obviously for good reason, because who knows how deep down that crack in the ground goes. But I can see it from down here, going up into the hillside on both sides of me. So as I walk along to the bottom here, I should get a good view of it. I can also see there's piles of the gilsonite out here, just little scraps of it piled up. This shiny black mineral down here. Oh, look at that. Look how deep down that goes. You can see up there, see the top of that crack comes down. You can see why this area is fenced off. You don't want to be messing with that. So they've just basically cut straight through this hillside here, getting the gilsonite. And all these gilsonite veins are very long, thin veins. You can see they just continue through the hills to the north here.
Gilsonite is unusual in that it's found in narrow, long, vertical veins that are typically only 3 to 6 feet wide, but hundreds of feet deep. The scale of the mine was enormous. What blew my mind is that it was all dug using hand tools like pickaxes between 1888 and 1935. Gilsonite is still used today for drilling oil, iron castings, asphalt, brake pads, and even inks, paints, and stains. It was famously used in the Ford Model T's black paint and as a beer barrel lining for Anheuser-Busch.
That's incredible thinking about how they cut that deep down into the hills here, into this rock to get the gilsonite. But I know already from flying over, that's not just that they cut down this far, they also cut along for miles. So I'm gonna head north and basically see how far this goes, see what I can see further to the north.
It's a lot bumpier down here, down with these hills. Get knocked around a little bit by the wind coming off the hills, but I can still see the line. It's not as obvious now, but it's still going. That might be the end of it. That might be the end of it above ground, at least. Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, so that looks like it ends at these roads here.
I knew those two roads would be worth checking out, so headed to the southern one first.
This is an odd little structure. It makes me wonder what this was for. It's just like a platform with a ladder on it. But behind it, this is, looks like this is one of the caves. It goes down so far. I had no idea this went so deep down in the ground. I don't want to go too close to the edge.
In places, the mine goes down over 1,000 feet from the surface, supported by rotting wood braces and scaffolding with planks of wood covered in dirt.
Now, flying over this was really cool because it gave me a sense of scale in terms of the length of this actual vein that they were mining and the length of the crack in the ground from the mine, but it didn't give me any idea of the depth of it. Like, I had no idea. Like, flying over, you don't realize how tall these cliffs are, or even, you obviously don't get close enough to see how deep down these mines go. It's crazy how deep this crack in the ground is.
It's weird, so you can see some buildings at the end, and it just looks like it's burnt ground along here for a while. There's another set of buildings there, and the ground just looks like it's burnt.
Gilsonite is extremely flammable and the dust is explosive. In 1908, the worst happened. Dust sitting in the air from the mining operations caught and exploded. The resulting fire raged for over 2 years. There was no way to put it out.
I've come up to the very northern end of what I could see when I was flying over. So this is just like beyond where the crack in the ground is, just so I could see what I could see from the ground, see if there's anything that's more obvious down here. And even though I couldn't see it from the air, you got this fenced off area here, says cave-in area, keep out, and actually looks like it's collapsed in a little bit down there. And then there's a couple more of them going up the hill up there. So even though I could see miles and miles of that crack in the ground from the air, it looks like that mine, that vein that they're mining actually continues up through the hills, just under the ground, not quite as obvious.
I'm gonna come around one more time, and then it's time to go get the vehicle.
On my final pass, I got closer to really get a sense of scale of the mine. I was flying at around 140 miles per hour, and it took around a minute to fly along the length of the crack in the ground. The total length of it is just under 3 miles on the surface, and the vein continues for about another mile underground. There are 71 identified gilsonite veins in the area, the longest of which is almost 14 miles long. So why are these formations so long and straight? Oil typically stays trapped under the ground in reservoirs, but the overlying rock in the Uinta Basin is brittle and fractured under tectonic stresses. The oil seeped into those cracks and solidified, creating the deposits that are still mined by hand today in the nearby Bonanza mine. From the crack in the ground, I made a quick stop at Vernal and then headed back to Richfield.
All right, I'm crossing my last mountain range. I got the Wasatch Mountain Range that I've got to cross over here before heading down the valley towards Richfield. These mountains are between 10,000 and about 11,300. The spot that I'm passing over right here is about 10,500. Just under 10,500. So I've got a little over 2,000 feet of clearance straight ahead of me. I do have wind coming from straight ahead of me as well, so I do have to keep that in mind as I approach. That's why I've kind of hit it as a 45-degree angle here. The reason I have to cross over the Wasatch Mountain Range here rather than go through the pass further to the south, you might be able to see it, is because of the smoke. So those controlled burns from earlier the smoke has spread, basically filling that entire valley there. I can see the airfield 20 nautical miles away now, and I can see the runway, so visibility will be just fine coming in here. I was wondering if I'd have to divert or go somewhere else.
Richfield traffic, Skylane 52 Tango Mike, turning final, runway 19, Richfield.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it an interaction to help with YouTube's infamous algorithm, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching.